Hello, it's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm going to be looking at Senate speech by Pauline Hanson. Now, I've seen two other Pauline Hanson videos. This is the last one I'm doing for now, and I really like her.
Over the past year, it's been an immense privilege to be in the role of Deputy Chair of the Joint Select Committee on Australia's Family Law System. The work of the committee has revealed what many of us know, that the proceedings, structure and systems of the Family Court profoundly impact more Australians than any other part of our legal system, and too often that impact has devastating effects.
The reason why I like Pauline is because she just says it as it is. And it's what's going on. And again, this is why the channel's called Behind Closed Doors. One of the reasons is because this all goes on behind closed doors. Nobody's allowed to talk about what happens in the family court.
I first brought up many of these issues and problems in and around the family court back in 1996, and I have never wavered in my belief that the family court requires far-reaching and a thorough overhaul if it is to properly serve the millions of Australians who come under its influence. This bill and the changes recommended...
You see, I think that's where the misconception is again. It's not meant, the family court isn't there to serve the people. It's there to hurt the people, to serve the professionals.
And the changes recommended are close to my heart, and I speak with the benefit of first-hand knowledge. I have personally experienced and survived the family court as a wife, then as a mother, and later as a grandmother. And yes,
bloody hell, she's had 3 times. And this is one of the reasons why I make this video, is because I don't want this happening to my children or grandchildren, or to anybody else.
I have experienced domestic violence. I have described the scope of these impacts previously in this place, and I can think of no better way to focus our minds on the human motivation for this bill than to quote my words from Hansard. The family law system has been and continues to be plagued by deep emotions, sadness, financial hardship and bankruptcies, long-term psychological damage, abuse, stress, suicides, and in some cases, murder.
Yes, and now it's like the worst human behaviours. And we're not going to talk about it, we're just going to suppress it. The family court add fuel to the fire. There's maybe a little flame, maybe there's a little bit of conflict, and the family court come and pour gasoline all over it, and it just goes up in flames, and now you have a forest fire. And that's what the family court do. And then they turn around and go, oh, well, we're not burning trees. It's absolutely inhumanely disgusting.
And I paraphrase here, including the murder of children by both male and female parents and extended family members. Unfortunately, there are those in the community who thrive on the pain of those going through separation and the courts, lawyers who charge exorbitant fees to the point of bankrupting clients, feminists who relish the toxic anti-men rhetoric, and
yeah, feminists are another video completely, and but the feminists and the family court are kind of part and parcel.
Jaded partners who will stop at nothing to use their separation and the court system to crush their rivals, including unfounded claims of domestic violence. Unfortunately, they are also harming their children in the process. Put simply, we need to revamp the system to make it better for everyone involved.
You see, this is the thing. I don't think you can make it better because it's doing what it was designed to do, which is the planned destruction of the family home. That's what feminism was about. That's what the family court was set up for. It was designed to separate people and keep them isolated and alienated from each other. So it's doing its job. So I think that there's an assumption here that it was set up for something other than that, something good and noble.
The family court is in an unusual position of being a rigged, formalised judicial body that is tasked with overseeing challenges that are human, all unique, emotional and characterised by vulnerability. And as I've said previously...
Yeah, and also the other thing is you don't have to do anything. Like, you know, the law is set up so that if you break the law, then you pay a penalty. But in family court, you don't have to do anything wrong and your life will be destroyed.
A one-size-fits-all approach in this arena will always fail. end quote. Participation in the family court system, whether willingly or when a person is dragged in and compelled to defend allegations, has taken an all too often terrible toll on potentially millions of people in this country. This bill is the product of a series of reviews that began when the Simple Review in 2008. The Simple Review produced a report titled Future Governance Options for Federal Family Law Courts in Australia. This report found, and I quote, "There exists a significant level of duplication of administrative structures and corporate services across the Family Court and the Federal Circuit Court," end quote. The report found that the structure and costs were not financially sustainable. It also found the structure took up resources that could have been used more effectively to assist people appearing before the court.
I wish we had someone like Pauline here in the UK. She is just so on point, and she presents herself so well, and she's got a poignant flair to her. It's just everything that she's saying and doing is just, from what I've seen of her so far, is just to be applauded.
The 2012 Skehill Review looked at a number of options for action designed to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of court administration. The 2014 KPMG Review found the current funding model for the courts was not sustainable, and simply throwing money at the problem was not a solution. In 2018, yet another review, the PwC Review, looked at the operations of the courts in relation to family law matters. Which brings us to 2019, when the Australian Law Reform Commission Review, commissioned by then Attorney General Brandis, handed down its report. And if, following report after report and review after review, you didn't already think there was reason enough to be here today, just listen to the Commission's report, which said the family law system has been, and I quote, "deprived of resources to such an extent that it cannot deliver the quality of justice expected of a country like Australia. There is a chronic lack of funding for the appointment and proper training of judicial resources, court-based social services professionals, including family consultants and Indigenous...
Yeah, and all this could just be avoided if people just got on well. It's like, this is what I'm saying. If you just, we have, I don't know what they've got in Australia, but over here we have coercive controlling behaviour. And if the police just acted on the fact that this is what's happening, then the perpetrator would be stopped from creating conflict and trying to control people early on. But that's not what's happening over here. So now all this stuff is like, oh, we can't even serve the market. Well, there shouldn't be a market, because what's the conflict? If you both want what's best for your children and you're both being reasonable, then surely there's no conflict. And if somebody's going out of the way to create conflict, then they should be identified and treated accordingly. So you should put out the fires early on instead of trying to inflame them by using the family court.
Liaison officers and legal aid services, including independent children's lawyers. As a consequence, children and families are deprived of sufficient time and attention being given to the matter at all stages of the process, with the obvious risks that this entails.
Yeah, it's basically supply and demand. But again, it's set up that way so that, oh, well, we don't have enough time to talk about that. It's one of the excuses for the reason why there's so much abuse. Oh, we just don't have the resources. You don't need the resources. Just be nice to each other. Oh, no, we can't do that. No, we have to have conflict in a family court. That's the thing, is that family courts aren't about resolving conflict. They're about creating it, because nobody profits from resolution of conflict.
So a decade of reports and reviews confirm time after time the system, the structure and the funding of the courts in this most critical of areas were all wrong, and proved that tinkering at the edges left a trail of devastated families in its wake. At the time of its interim report last October, the Joint Select Committee, on which I serve as Deputy Chair, has received more than 1,500 individual submissions, as well as 169 submissions from organisations, academics and other professionals. all of which brings us to today and the bill before us. We are told by the Attorney-General that the structural reforms contained within the bill will help Australian families resolve their disputes faster, provide appropriate protection for vulnerable people, and ensure suitability, qualified and experienced professionals are available to support families in need. I also note that the proposed structural reform of the federal courts is intended to create a consistent pathway for Australian families in having their family law disputes dealt with in the federal courts, improve the efficiency of the federal court system, and ensure outcomes for Australian families are resolved in the most timely, informed and cost-effective manner possible.
Well, good luck with all that. I genuinely mean that. Good luck with it all. I hope it goes well.
We are told also the long overdue structural reform has the potential to allow an extra 8,000 cases to be resolved each year. That's 8,000 cases. Just last year we had an extra 45,000 cases come before the Federal Circuit Court. That will resolve an extra 8,000 a year, which no doubt will reduce the significant frustration felt by so many families.
That's 8,000 families.
There has been criticism of the bill from some legal quarters that does not surprise me. I believe it's fair to say that being appointed a judge of the Family Court of Australia has, until now, been regarded as a golden ticket within the legal profession. Any alteration to the current system will probably upset the long-term retirement and pension plans of some in the profession, and I don't doubt that's where a lot of the squealing and resistance is coming from.
Getting so emotional again. I love it when someone just comes out and says it.
This legislation will provide a single pathway for Australian families to have their family law disputes dealt with within the federal courts. That's our first priority, is the people of this nation that are going through the hurt and pain, not only of a separation from their loved ones and the families and their children. It's the fact is they have to face our family law courts. They are our main priority. And if we can address this system and clean it up and make it easy for them, that is our job. I'm not interested in what the law fraternity want and their comments. It's all about the people in Australia.
I love the fact that she believes that. I love that. I love the fact that she's standing up for the people. But this is a court and this is the government, and so the people don't really get to have a say.
Under this reform, there will be a single set of rules, procedures, case management and practices. But as the law currently exists, these changes cannot occur without the agreement of a majority of judges in each court agreeing to respective rules. That's why this bill has been drawn up, because they can't come to any decision because it may affect them personally. That's why we have to make the decisions on the behalf of the people of this
Go on, girl!
Nation. And I turn a lot of people in this chamber, and I've explained to you, I've gone through the family law courts as a wife, as a mother, as a grandmother, and I've seen my children go through the pain and anger and what they've had to go through. How many in this chamber have actually experienced that? How many have actually experienced domestic violence? That's a question that we need to ask. People need to know. And to sit here in judgment of people that you've never worn their shoes. All people tell me all the time, pull me up, is that, please do something. I can't see my children.
Yes, but a judge needs his retirement. The family courts are run by child-abusing judges. They don't care about children.
This long system of waiting, you can't get to see your kids or it's under supervision. The pain and anger that people feel, the suicides, the murders.
Yeah, and if you feel pain and anger from what they did to you, then that's not okay. That's another reason why the children can't see you, because they've hurt you so much from separating them from you.
The murders of children, filicide. It's always raised about, and I can constantly talk about the fathers out there, because they are the forgotten ones in many cases, and it shouldn't be. We talk about filicide, which I've raised. The stats show that filicide is committed by women more than what men are. That's murder of your children. But no, don't discuss that. These facts need to be open to the public, because I will not have any man wrongly accused and pointed at or downtrodden by feminist organisations or people with their own agenda. It's not about the sex, it comes down to the children. It's about the marriage breakups and what's happening, that we have to address all this.
I agree.
Wholesome, that we can find the answers to it.
I love her so much because she's saying the truth, but I don't believe she can change anything. I hope I'm wrong. I hope she's right. I hope she can make change. I hope she makes all the changes that she'd like to make. But you're going against the tide. The child abusing judges, the police and the solicitors only care about making money and keeping domestic violence under wraps.
This action takes it out of the hands of judges who have been appointed for life and puts it in the hands of the people through their elected representatives, us. In other words, it takes it out of the hands of those who have a vested interest in maintaining the system and retaining extraordinary well-paid jobs for life, and puts it in the hands of politicians who remain directly answerable to...
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional while watching this video. It's just very difficult. This is one of the best speeches on the family court I've ever seen in my life.
...to the electorate. And this restructuring, we are told by the Attorney-General, will not lead to a diminishing of specialisation. In fact, in the Federal Circuit Courts, we have about 63 judges. 50 of those judges are specialised. They have an average of 25 years' experience in family law. And a lot of the Federal Circuit Court judges go on to become family law court judges. They hear an extraordinary number of cases a year, not only family law, but migration, civil matters, other matters as well. But in the family law court, they don't have the workload as the others do in the Federal Circuit Court. If you want a decision in the family law courts, you're waiting over 26 months. In the Federal Circuit Court, averages 23 months for a decision to be handed down. No wonder there are so many suicides and depression and problems. And it's not only the parents who are going through it, the children are going through it as well, because they don't have that contact with their parents. They're denied that right.
Like she said earlier, the grandparents are the extended family.
And the court system, and I've got to say that it was One Nation that brought it to the government's attention over 3 years ago with the Lighthouse Project, which has now been installed into the law system, into the courts. And this is working to help with domestic violence. It was One Nation that actually brought it, because I could see the potential that this was a wonderful thing that we have. And it's been utilised now, and I'm pleased to see that.
Well, that's good. Again, it's David versus Goliath. Any changes this lady can make, I applaud her. I applaud her at the effort. I applaud her just standing up and saying something, because nobody else will.
Many other changes that I will be proposing to the committee that I'm deputy chair of. But this needs to happen. We need to merge the two courts. The restructuring has to happen. I can't accept that this restructure will in any way diminish the experience or the expertise of judges involved going forward. The restructuring proposal in the bill is long overdue, and it's intended relief for families before the court is urgently required. I have maintained my efforts to reform the family court for over 20 years, and I am genuinely happy to strongly commend and congratulate the Attorney-General for presenting this bill in its current form. It represents a significant step forward, and I confirm that One Nation will be supporting the bill.
Wow, I honestly don't know what to say. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and congratulations. Like any any forward, any progress is to be congratulated. Congratulations. Family Law Courts Need Urgent Reform by Pauline Hanson is one of the best speeches I've heard on family court so far.